people can figure out ways of self-improvement via like a skill. So like an actual, like even if it's just like learning the guitar, like an instrument or if they're drawing, any skill that they can take up, I think the world would be a much better place if people just became good at, had hobbies and became good at them. And it's nothing, we don't talk about that at all.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the show. This is the Save Show podcast with me, your host, Justin. We're going to jump into the episode with Eric here shortly. Great conversation with a fellow former Marine. Lots of catching up and covering a lot of topics. The sole focus being how bettering yourself can better the world to make it a better place. But I'll let the episode speak for itself. I wanted to thank everyone for their support recently. Instagram, podcast listens, people buying stuff off the store. It's always great to see, and it is appreciated. I got a picture from somebody. They just got their Save Show mug in the mail, so they're using that for coffee this morning. Great to see. I love all the love out there. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing and keep getting people some great content. But with that, let's jump into it with
Eric Spector. Welcome to the Save Show podcast with me, Justin. It's nice to see you again, my friend.
Very happy to see you, Justin, this time not in the flesh, but it's nice to see your face again. I know we've only sort of chatted on Instagram for a while now.
Yeah, it's been years. So just a little intro for anybody out there listening. Eric and I served in the Marine Corps. You know, we did our patriotic duty as cheering Americans, and now we've been out. And Eric's got a very successful, you can be humble, but I'll call it very successful kettlebell page on Instagram. So we've been chatting through that for the past few years. But Eric, I just wanted to give you the time to introduce yourself and what makes you Eric. Let us know.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Eric Spector. As Justin said, we met while we were in the Marines. I joined the military right after high school. At 18, I was initially going to go to art school, and then I saw the bill for how much that was going to be, and I was like, is this really a formidable path for me going forward? I didn't have much motivation. I really needed to change my sense of self, and I figured the military was the best way to do that. So that is what brought me to the Marines, and that's what brought us together. While I was an Arabic linguist, and it was learning Arabic at DLI, the Defense Language Institute. It's an Army school, just for people who don't know. Was some of the best, I would say, like 2 years of my life in Monterey. Obviously, I've had a very good time since then. I don't look back at that time and be like, oh, I wish I were back in school learning Arabic. But it was a time of self-growth. I was like 18 through 20 at that point, and I learned a lot about myself and what I could do in the world. It gave me a lot of confidence. And so part of what I identify as is like a former Marine and a former Arabic linguist, Jewish. We could talk about that. I know this is a faith-based podcast, so if you want to talk about that as well, about my journey through religion, we can do that. And then more recently, I've gotten into kettlebells as a result of the pandemic. I would have never touched a kettlebell if it weren't for my gym being closed and me having a mask in my apartment gym. I just to give a quick introduction for kettlebells, I really only did them because I needed to figure out a way to work out. And that was outside with a little ball of metal with a handle. That was the easiest way for me to do it. And so I guess that's sort of what brought us more recently together, is that page, because we both sort of started social media pages about our interests. So, and that's become an obsession of mine for the past 2 years now.
Well, yeah, for the past 2 years, just from the outside observer's perspective, you've gotten better and better at what you're creating, and seen a lot of growth. And I've honestly been doing a lot of your workouts. I just save them for later.
The bell and ground, or just like random ones?
I've got the bell and ground. So you actually published that one for $5, and very happy to pay $5 for all those workouts. Those are great. But just even from years ago, at this point, if I go back far enough, I'll find a imam or something that you posted years ago, and I'll do that.
Yeah, I felt weird about charging for those workouts, but at the end of the day, I was like, I'm not like an influencer. I don't like have brands or anything coming to me. So I'm just like, I've learned a lot through just like my own research, and I may as well like pass it on to people. And if I can make a couple of bucks doing it, then why not try? So, and
Right.
I've gotten positive reviews from it, so I'm happy to hear that, and I'm glad you're continuing on with the workouts.
Man, yeah, I'm getting a little stronger day by day. I've got 20 20 kilos is the kettlebell that I have, and then I've got one of the Soren X center mass bells, if you've seen those.
Is that the like the donut shaped dumbbell things? Yeah,
The handles on the
never used. Is that? Do you like that?
I like it. I kind of skimped as far as price tag goes, so I got 30 pounds.
Okay.
I like that price tag a little bit better. But yeah, it's great for curls and stuff. I can get on my bench and do like one side at a time, or
You only have one?
yeah, I've got the center mass bell and then the kettlebell. And so honestly, when I was starting the kettlebell workouts, stuff that I saw you doing, I would use the 30 pounds instead of the kettlebell, just for like a little more comfort and getting the movements down.
Yeah, a lot of beginners have a problem with the wrist. The bell bangs against the wrist when they're
Yeah,
starting out.
that wasn't my favorite.
If
Or
you could only own what is the center? Is it just called the center mass
center
bell
mass.
or something?
Yep.
Would if you could own only one, would you own the center mass or the kettlebell?
No, I'd rather be with the kettlebell community, I think,
Okay.
than the kettlebell. But it was great. So the lighter weight, maybe more so than anything, it was the lighter weight, but just my snatch or my cleans were like away from my body with the bell. And so with the center mass bell, I got the motion down a little.
Right. Yeah, because you don't have to worry about the flop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little flop at the end. Well, cool. Thanks for going through that, Eric. Just me as a host, I'm trying to get better at introducing people, because if I've known you for years, or we've chatted, it doesn't mean that everybody has.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
I
true.
just find that interesting, especially at work. I don't even know what you do for work, but if you're on a Teams call with for me, it's new customers, and I've got my whole team on the call. I'll just say, "Hey, I'm Justin. I work here, and this is Lisa." And then I don't allow that person to really go into their story. So I've had to do a lot of learning with this remote work since 2020.
Yeah, you're in sales, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. So I work in commercial real estate by
Okay.
day, kettlebell by night. Now I do commercial real estate valuation, so appraisal work. I don't
Okay.
have my appraiser's license, but I'm currently working on that. It's a lot between all the kettlebell stuff
Yep.
and my job. It's a lot of shuffling around, but I'm not really on video calls.
Okay.
I just do audio, but I am corresponding via like Zoom and Microsoft Teams a lot. So
Yep. Teams seems to run the world these days.
yeah, it was Zoom at the beginning of the pandemic, but then everyone transitioned to Teams, I guess.
Yeah, that's one of those things where if I could go back 20 years, things I'd invest in would certainly be Microsoft and Amazon and
Yeah.
Blockbuster.
What about those meme stocks? Did you get into those meme stocks at all? Like
Uh, like Dogecoin and stuff.
no, like well, there's that, but GameStop. Remember that? That was
Oh
a huge
yeah. Yeah, one of my buddies, I don't think he was in on it, like with the Wall Street bets guys, but he actually had a pretty good day when all that was going on.
yeah. I got into the Wall Street bets trend for a little bit, and I lost not a hefty amount, but I did lose some gambling money just because I was like, this is all I gamble at the end of the day. No one on this subreddit knows anything.
Right. Yeah. That was kind of fun. I never got into Reddit. I'm still not really on there much. But that was a pretty cool news story to catch up on. Everybody's just kind of messing with the game and how it's been played out for years.
That's true. That's a good point.
I wanted to have you on. Like you said, faith-based podcast is certainly kind of the first and foremost thing here, but I'm trying to get as many winning individuals on here. And so like a winning individual to me would be you, hence you being here. But you've gone from the Marine Corps, and I wouldn't consider that the highlight of your life, nor mine. We already talked about that kind of before we started, but you've gone from what I assume was a mostly positive experience, probably some downtime as well during the Marine Corps, and you've made something of yourself. And I see you with the kettlebell page. You're doing great things, and you still work a day job. You said you're not an influencer, and you're still making something of yourself and finding balance and bettering yourself. So I wanted to have you on and kind of just discuss your mantra and what advice you might give to people like me who are trying to get better. We certainly can dive into any of your beliefs, Eric. I just didn't want to push anybody that comes on in that direction unless, I invite my pastor on or something like that.
No, I'm happy to talk about that if you'd like. But yeah, as you said, the Marine Corps was, I've had better years since, but it was definitely a formative time of mine in my life. And I did what I did in the Marines what I set out to do, which was to figure out myself, transform myself for the better. And then, if I did enjoy it that much, I would have stayed in.
Right.
But I think I disliked it more than I liked it at the end of the day. So that's why I got out. I'm a normal civilian. And I'm glad that you put me in the category of winner. That feels good.
Yeah. Oh,
I know that's sort of your tagline, right? God wins. And I assume what you mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that, if you're doing good for the world and you're continuing to make a good influence on people's lives, and that's sort of winning, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think as me as a believer, I don't want to be in your face about something. Ooh, I didn't bring mine. I also drink water out of a mason jar. Just a little connection.
It's so easy. This used to be tomato sauce, and now it's
Yeah,
a
it's multi-purpose.
big jar for water because I need to constantly hydrate nowadays.
Yeah, being out in Arizona is probably a little warmer than your.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty cold in here, but yeah, no, it is very hot in Arizona. So
No, I was just me as a believer. I don't want to be in your face billboard guy on the side of the road. I think if I can demonstrate good vibes, God's love to people, and
yeah,
help them when they need it, and then they, through me, perhaps God might do some work. That's certainly kind of my mindset, and bringing God into people's lives in a positive manner, not shouting at them, and just I don't want to make any headlines.
yeah. There are definitely people who try to shove it in others' faces, and it
Sure.
actually has the reverse or the opposite impact that they're trying to create. So
Right.
I think what you're doing is helpful and useful towards creating the world a better place the way that you're doing it, because the
For sure.
messenger is also a tool, I guess, right, in a way that the message gets received. So
Right. Like the Bible is where I draw authority from. And people that I'm trying to convert sounds a little bit stronger than what I would like to say, but people who I'm working with and perhaps bringing to God, if I am presenting myself in the right way, people are reading me and not necessarily the Bible. So, like I might be the messenger, and if I'm representing it well, then they'll go to that message. They might find God through me if God is able to make it happen.
So are these people online through Instagram? How do you I assume you're thinking of a select few individuals now.
Well, there's people in my life for sure. Buddies from the Marine Corps or just our close friends here in town once we moved back. But if a funny meme on Instagram does the trick, then I'll be there.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Instagram page is kind of fun, and I've been trying to post every day and see what happens after a year of doing that. See if something becomes of it. But I think I'm kind of like you, where I've started this thing and it's mostly for fun. So like podcast, Instagram page, this year's new stuff for me. It's kind of fun. It's a hobby, and there's no monetary goal. There's no like seeking to become an influencer. These are just things that I wanted to do and get better at.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what matters too from the get-go. Because if you are doing it for a goal, um, that's not the best way to produce certain content, in my opinion. I always say systems over goals, and it's like my system is I have I want to produce like 2 or 3 bits of content each week, and it's just stuff that I like, because
Mhm.
if it resonates with you, then it's going to resonate with other people.
Right.
It's going to resonate with like-minded people too. So that's maybe a difference in what you put out there versus me. It's like the people who are interested in kettlebell workouts have already maybe flirted with it, or they already do it, so they're more likely for you, and maybe a bit I mean, to be fair, there are a lot more like people interested in Christianity than kettlebells, right? So then maybe, but if you're trying to convert, then I can see how that would be such a big struggle to just change someone's perspective on religion from the get-go.
Right, right. But yeah, since you mentioned it, your mantra, I've got it pulled up here: habits over motivation, systems over goals. Get outside and touch some grass or dirt.
Yeah, that developed over time. It was just like all these separate ideas that I had for work, and I don't want to say the word motivation because it's not a primary part of my system, but I noticed that habits work much better than motivation in my life. Do you want me to go through all this?
Yeah, that was the point.
If you have certain habits, you really don't need to work up this emotional perspective in order to complete all these tasks. And you'll still end up at the same point, but it will be less emotionally taxing. And I think you'll get there quicker, and you'll have more energy to do other things. So, for example, I always use cleaning up my room as an example. If you habitually just pick up, your pieces of clothing, every day, you won't have this huge task to do at the end of the week to make your room clean. And, therefore you don't have to think about it as much, and you can have your mind put elsewhere. It's more of a practical viewpoint of achievement.
Mhm.
So that's where the habits over motivation comes in. Systems over goals. I think that people, when they set goals for themselves, they either achieve them and they're happy for a minute, and then they set new goals, or they don't achieve them and then they just feel down on themselves, and then they lose motivation. They lose a positive feeling in themselves in general, and they feel like, oh, I can't do anything. And so I don't think goals is a helpful framework um, for success.
Mhm.
I think systems are instead. And what I mean by systems is similar to habits, a consistent approach towards doing X or Y. Um, and you will still achieve those goals, but the mental framework at which you do it will be less daunting. I hope this makes sense. I haven't really had to explain it to many people, just in person, but those are the two things. The first two, and then the last one, like you said, is touch some grass, and I think there is uh, a lot of benefit towards getting in nature and reconnecting with the ground. And people who just stay inside all the time around white walls, they don't really get a true sense of themselves as humans. For better or for worse, we evolved from our ancestors, from nomadic people who were outside, getting in touch with their surroundings, and it really, I think, helped them understand themselves more. And so all of these things combined, I think, are a good perspective towards a shift in mentality, which can then produce useful results. So
Yeah, I think you articulated that well.
I'm glad. I feel yeah, like I said, never have to explain that. I think people typically get it when I write it out,
Mhm.
but I hope those three different mantras sort of help people out.
It's helped me, not necessarily picturing you and saying it in my head or even those words, but I think it's
Touch grass is like a meme at this point, though. The other ones
yeah,
are just sort
honestly,
of out
right.
there. But do you know how that originated? That was an internet meme, like insults from in the gaming community, and
Really?
I just sort of reappropriated it because they say touch grass when you're playing like a video game, like Call of Duty for hours on end. You keep losing, and you're just like cursing everyone out, and they're just like, "All right, go touch grass, like get outside. This isn't the real world."
I get that. That's
Yeah,
probably cool. I thought it was more of a grounding thing with all the scientific studies on standing barefoot outside in the
yeah.
grass, getting in tune
Ironic,
with everything.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ironically, I don't go barefoot as much as other kettlebell folks out there. I know barefoot workouts are a huge
Yeah.
trend nowadays, and I wear shoes.
Yeah, you've got those boots on to protect your legs, right?
Yeah, I have to take them off now though, because there's like no mosquitoes in Arizona. So now I have to be a grounder or whatever they call themselves.
I'm gonna start calling you a grounder. Eric does grounding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I I like the message there, if you want to call it a message, I think it does resonate with people. And I was just curious today if you're willing to share what led you to feeling that way. Was there ever a point in life, Marine Corps or afterwards, where you weren't executing on what you wanted to, you weren't where you were, and so you've learned those lessons and now that's your mantra? Or is there?
Goals,
Yeah.
goals was the big one because I didn't have a college degree out of the Marines, and when I visualized myself getting a degree, it was like, 3 or 4 years from that point. It just seemed like such a daunting amount of time that I'd have to commit to. So if I took away the goal aspect, then it would be a lot more easy for me to commit to, just getting my degree and just the sort of large tasks like that. I don't think there was anything really specific. I like reading, and I
Mhm.
pick up a lot of life philosophies just from reading. There wasn't like an internal. A lot of these ideas are just I get them from other people, um, and they're not like revelations that I've had myself. And life is a lot easier, in my opinion, when you can just use lessons that you get from other people too. I mean, I assume that's sort of what pastors are typically for, right? They spread philosophy
Yep.
and wisdom from like the book and other, knowledge that they've heard over the years.
Right.
And so I think a lot of this does come from just reading. There's oh God, what's that book? I'm forgetting it now. The one by not James Nestor, some Habits book, and that's where I got it from. I know this is probably incredibly boring for people to listen to me try to remember the name of a book right now.
The Power of Habit.
Power of Habit. Yep. Who's it by?
Charles Duhigg or Doug. I don't know how you pronounce that.
That's not it. We can cut this bit out.
That's all right. It's Atomic Habits by James.
Yes.
There we go. We found it.
By James Clear. That's what it is. Yes.
That's kind of how I've thought of this show as well. I myself am not necessarily coming up with these revelations or, epiphanies myself. It's kind of I'm
Yeah.
a culmination of all the podcasts that I've listened to or all the Sunday services I've been to, and so this is just kind of an echoing station, if you want to think about it that way. So like I'm having you on here with some great thoughts, and people are just listening to that echo when
Yeah.
I play on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so much good stuff out there that we can get. There's also so much bad too, and so you have to be able to understand where to curate your positive ideas from, especially with the internet. So you got that algorithm just pushing everything out at you, and you have to, in my opinion, hack the algorithm to make sure that you're only getting positive stuff flowing into your brain.
Yeah. I don't know if you got into politics the last few years, but I was all about it for a time, and I was going to lose my mind.
Yeah. I think it's fun watching the cultural shift in terms of politics, but one of the reasons I don't like sports is because I don't want to put a lot of emotional energy into things that I can't control.
Mhm.
Um, so I view politics as sort of like gambling. I have political viewpoints for sure,
Yep.
and that's a result of just personal philosophies, and certain politics aligns with that over others. But
Mhm.
I don't like choosing teams when I myself can't actually make a change in it. And
Sure.
of course, I can if I really wanted to go into politics, but it's just not something that interests me. But I understand where you're coming from. I mean, the whole country sort of got involved in politics in the last couple of years, right? Like you can't avoid it anymore.
Well, as
And
soon
that's
as reality TV show host was the president, it's kind of like the whole thing was more or
yeah,
less reality TV.
right. And I try to also on my page avoid it altogether because politics has embedded itself in every aspect of our culture. And
Mhm.
I think people want a break from it, but it also is an addiction because of its emotional stronghold on people.
Yep.
So yeah.
It's best
What
avoided.
what was the why did we bring up politics?
You're just talking about breaking the algorithm.
Oh yeah.
I
Right.
when I was into it, Instagram, Facebook, everything was all, political pages, and I was going to drive myself crazy. So I just took a break from all of it for a year, and then got back on my account, and everything kind of reset, and I was in a
Yeah.
better place.
Religion and politics are they go hand in hand, right?
Yeah. I didn't want this to become a political thing either, especially the page or the podcast. I didn't want to do that. But that's kind of like, as far as my own journey goes, avoiding some of that stuff and using Instagram, social media more so as a tool, starting this year has been kind of my aim. And then the mantra God wins is that you can have your sports teams or your political teams, but at the end of the day, the only thing that'll probably remain, is God, and hopefully you have a good relationship there.
Yeah.
Like the Roman Empire fell, the Ottoman Empire fell, all these systems on this earth are going to fall away. So you got to put your mind on higher aims, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I like that perspective. There are very few things in life that are permanent. And I suppose God is the only one, right? That is permanent. Even the world is
Kettlebell.
permanent. Yeah, kettlebells. My 6 kettlebells will remain.
Yeah. Oh, you got
Then it's kind of weird to think about that. Those kettlebells will last longer than me.
right. It'll just be something somebody's selling used on Facebook eventually.
Oh my God, yeah, that's true. I should etch my name in it or something like that.
Yeah, you should start making stickers, put them on everything.
Yeah.
Kettlebell sticker on a kettlebell.
I do have to get into the merch game like you.
Well, I'm doing it haphazardly, so if you want to skip some steps so that you actually succeed, let me know.
So I actually succeed?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm not complaining, but I've made almost none sales.
Oh, really?
But
I listen, I don't know much about the merch game, so I can't really chime in on anything. But I know this isn't a merch podcast. We don't have to talk about that now. We can skip over that if you
no, I'm going to leave everything in here. This is not going to be trimmed. This is an authentic podcast episode, right?
Okay.
No, I've had fun. If you need anything, I started the Shopify page and I've learned a few things on merchandising. And my efforts in university were mostly for business management and data analytics. And now I'm trying to do marketing. So I feel like I could have just saved myself the headache this year and gone to school for it. But
For marketing, yeah.
yeah.
I assume there are a lot of tools online that let you do it, but that means that everyone else is putting their stuff out there too, and so
Right.
there's just like a flood. Do you know the term the Matthew effect?
Matthew effect. No, I think I've heard it though.
The reason I bring it up, one, it's related to this discussion about merch, but two, it does come from the Bible, the book of Matthew. And I'm going to pull up a direct quote here so that I don't butcher it, because I know that your listeners will know exactly the quote that that is said multiple times over within the book of Matthew. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Have you heard that phrase before?
Yeah. Yep. And I'm looking at it too. Yeah, I've heard that before.
And so the idea in social media specifically, you can see this system throughout. Well, I would say you will see the phenomenon throughout other systems, but in social media specifically, the popular content is just like everybody knows about it. But then the majority, I would say like the bottom 90%, which is a weird number to say, but the bottom, like it never gets looked at. So really, if you can like break that threshold, then you're gonna just be like the cream of the crop. Like just everyone will know you.
Yeah.
But most of the time you're just like at the bottom because the majority of the content that people want to consume is popular.
Mm-hmm.
And if everyone's looking for popular content, only a small, we only have 24 hours in a day, only a small amount of that content is going to, that's why I like the Joe Rogan Experience is like the number one podcast. People just don't want to leave it, but you only have like so many podcasts that are, world renowned,
Right.
And so I bring that up just because of the amount of content out there, but also merch that people have the option of buying. And at the end of the day, only a few things are actually going to get up there. It's kind of sad to think about, but it is an interesting phenomenon that I have been interested in for a couple of years, and I think it is part and parcel to the age old wisdom that the Bible offers up.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I definitely agree with that. I've got a chart in front of me. it's discussing readers. So good readers improve at a faster pace, and that line's shooting up. Poor readers improve at a slower pace, so it's less of an incline, but those poor readers are still improving, and I think
Yeah.
that might be a more positive spin than than
Right. You can improve. There's that exponential factor
right.
that certain people start. I mean, in finance, it's pretty obvious too.
Mhm.
If you start investing $1 million at age, well, I'll say at when you're an infant, like if you come from a rich family
Yeah,
and your parents start an investment fund for you at zero with $1 million, you're going to have an insane amount of wealth versus if someone starts at 30 with like, $50,000. And so,
right.
but there are always there's that X factor that you can have, right? Where you can get that niche. There's hope. I mean, there's not, you always hear these stories of people who come up from the bottom. They absolutely, um, they hack the algorithm and they beat it.
Yeah, like
But I
Mr.
think
Beast on YouTube. I think he's done that.
Mr. Beast.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah, no, for sure. He's another example, right? You like, yeah, I mean, that is good. A good thing about the internet, though, there's no real gatekeeper,
Hmm.
unless you do get banned, which is a whole other topic. But yeah, I mean, if you can go from zero to however many subscribers he has because he puts out good content. He figured it out, and he worked his ass off for a long time.
Yeah.
It doesn't just
Yeah.
happen overnight either.
Right. And that's something that I feel like your story is a success because you've been consistent with this thing for a couple of years, with the kettlebell page, and now I feel like from the outside it seems like it's taken off, and you're doing quite well with it.
Yeah, I think it's doing well. It is weird to like be and no one's recognized me off the street or anything like that.
Sure.
But it's not like the most popular page out there or anything, but I do enjoy getting the positive messages. It has recently become kind of a lot to where I had to like put my phone down and like start posting less, which I'm still figuring out how to still post as much as I want to, but also not have to respond. I feel like I need to respond to everyone's
Right.
messages,
Yeah.
but they come in and I can't really give them my full attention. So, but yeah, no, it's been a good experience, and I think it's grown more than I expected. That I don't want to like define myself by that number at the end of the day, and either
Right.
because if it's so temporary and insignificant in terms of the important things in life.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but
the go
if
ahead.
I can make a positive impact on people, then that's what matters. And I hope that each one of those followers is on there just to learn and get good motivation or
Mm.
inspiration or information at the end of the day.
To better themselves. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. I
exactly.
was thinking about it the other day. Instagram page, let's say my Instagram page had 200 followers and 10% of those people saw anything that I posted. That's still 20 people that's
Yeah,
looking at a post that I made that hopefully, if I'm doing it right, has a positive message and it can influence them in the right way. So that
right.
people that's a classroom, if you want to think about it that way, that I'm speaking with, and can have a positive impact on. So just like you said, it's not necessarily that follower number or like how many likes you're getting or subscribing on YouTube. If the message is there, people will come and go. But as long as you're creating something that has a positive impact on people, I think it's worth it.
Yeah. And to sort of tie this together with the Matthew effect too, you see a lot of people, the people who do get those massive amount of followers and likes are also just putting out like bombastic content that is they only make it because they know it'll get outrage clicks and
Sure.
outrage like sends and saves and everything. And so I think it's not necessarily a good sign if you achieve that number from the get-go because you're probably putting something out there that's uh, not necessarily making the world a better place. You're just putting crap out there so that people will send it to other people and you'll get pushed up in the algorithm.
Right.
It's this whole game that like I didn't even think about until I started my account. I was like, wow, this is like interesting to learn about what makes people popular. And it's content that people want to share for whatever reason or save or comment on. And that's typically content that makes people angry.
Yeah, you're gonna get the generation of interest if it upsets someone. So I think
Right.
that the political thing kind of drew me in the past. The algorithm took hold because it was
Yeah, politics upsets a lot of people, huh?
yeah, yeah. I'm glad that
Wonder
I
why.
liked that game. My wife the other week, she's biggest supporter of the show, obviously, and she was saying how different the show would have been a couple of years ago if I was still, Republican versus Democrat, reading the news every day, and how awful it would have been. This is way better.
So you consider yourself not part of that two-party system anymore?
I'm trying to be more of an independent thinker than I used to be. I think just like you said, I have my own philosophy and thoughts. Uh,
Right.
I'd rather focus on the issue than necessarily the teammate or
Right.
the person that I'm voting for.
Yeah, and then it gets frustrating when the team that aligns most with your values doesn't align with, one or two that
Yeah.
are in the news for that week or so.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of like closed fist topics. So like I'm trying to use something that's not going to piss people off, but I like hot dogs. Like that's a closed fist thing for me, or
Yeah.
like cheeseburgers and milkshakes are the best dinner. That's another thing. But then there's all these other issues that just kind of exist out there that I don't necessarily have a strong grasp on or care too much about. So there's not necessarily one team or one person that's going to satisfy everything that I believe.
How do you make people, or would you like people to adopt a similar philosophy?
Well, I think, just like we talked about through the podcast, it's kind of outreach. I think that there are better ways of living life. And just, like with your message with kettlebells, living a better life through fitness and getting outside, creating better habits and systems. If I can have a positive impact by expressing what I personally think, and the message is worth it and people come to it, then yeah, I guess I'd like to change some hearts and minds.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed about my own happiness is that once I started getting good at something, some of this background noise started going away of where I did focus more on politics and just general, I guess, cultural just news. I don't care as much about that stuff anymore when I have my own sort of path
Mhm.
in my own life because it's all about what you care about. And if you have anything that affects you personally is going to pull you stronger than the passive, uh, I guess, watching of what's going on in the world. And I think if people can figure out ways of self-improvement via like a skill, so like an actual, like even if it's just like learning the guitar, like an instrument, or if the drawing, any skill that they can take up, I think the world would be a much better place if people just became good at had hobbies and became good at them. And it's nothing, we don't talk about that at all. Like, could
Mhm.
you imagine if a politician was like, hey, what do you do? What are you good at? Like, what is a hobby? What is a tool that you use that you're good at? And I'm curious to know what percentage of the population is actually good at something. And that sounds terrible to say out loud, but if you just go to work every day and you don't like your job, and then you come home and you watch TV because Netflix is your hobby,
You go to
then
sleep.
you're not actually actively pursuing a skill, uh, and the world needs more of that.
I agree. I think that's a great way to wrap up the conversation here. I want to have you on, Eric. We didn't quite cover beliefs or any of the big
Yeah, we could talk about Judaism next. I don't think you've had any Jewish guests, right?
No, you're actually my third guest. So I had
Oh,
a
you have? Okay.
yeah, you're my third guest. I had an individual who's a small business owner here in town where I live, who is on a committee with me. And then my second guest was just a good buddy of mine, who's a fitness coach, and he's taken himself from um, being, on the overweight side to being like a CrossFit competing person. So a lot like yourself, systems over goals, and bettering yourself with these incremental and winning the day kind of things.
Well, I know we don't have much time left. What's that guy's name?
Tyler Kluver, I can say
Okay.
the episode too, but I appreciated having you on, Eric. I want to have you on again, obviously, but what you said right there at the end is I think a good way to wrap up. If we can get people to pick one thing and focus more on their sphere of
Yeah,
influence, the world might be a better place.
I agree. All right. Thanks, Justin. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Looking forward to listening to the final result and hearing my tiny voice.
man. That
All
sounds
right.
good. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. This was the Saved Show with Eric of Eric Does Kettlebells. That's his page on Instagram. Go check it out if that's your thing. Really great conversation, cover a lot of topics, but I wanted to go over his mantra, where that came from, habits over motivation, systems over goals, and going and touching grass, which we definitely accomplished. His message there at the end about how picking something to better yourself at, focusing more on things that are in your realm and your control might make the world a better place, resonated with me. So I hope it did with you as well. As we think about our faith in this journey that we're on, sort of the focus of the show is bettering the relationship we have with God and focusing more on Him. God wins. Cover that with Eric. We can change the world. Focus on God, focus on that which is primary, create habits and things to better that relationship daily. I certainly am a big proponent of fitness. I think that makes you a better person all around, and it does glorify God to use your body in ways that it was meant to be used, not necessarily sitting on the couch all day. Excuse me. But with that, the episode comes to a close. Like I said at the beginning, I really appreciate all the support lately. I'm wearing our new God Wins hat. Pretty comfortable. It's champion, I think. Perfect for covering up the dad hair, but go check it out on the store. That's the saved.store if you're interested. Otherwise, just sharing the show itself on Instagram and social media is a blessing and does us a lot of good. So I love you. God loves you. God bless you. And don't forget, God wins, and you're saved through Christ.